Hey everybody, this is Andre here with the Kevin Breeze channel, and in this video, we're going to be doing a comparison between the LG K92 5G and the Apple iPhone 12. Let's get started. So the LG K92 5G has a 5.7-inch IPS LCD display with a resolution of 1080p, a PPI of 393, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of 84.4%. The iPhone 12 has a 6.1-inch OLED display with a resolution of 1170 by 2532, a PPI of 460, an aspect ratio of 19.5:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of 86%. So the LG K92 5G clearly has a much larger screen than the iPhone 12, but at the same time, the iPhone 12 does have a higher resolution, a higher PPI, and an OLED display versus the IPS LCD on the LG K92, so the iPhone's colors are going to be a lot brighter as well. So it really comes down to which one is more important to you. Would you prefer a larger display or a more high quality display? For the front-facing camera, the LG K92 5G has a hole punch design that I really like a lot, and this camera is 16 megapixels. The iPhone 12 has a front-facing camera right in this little notch here, and this camera is 12 megapixels. Now the LG K92 5G is getting 128 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD card expansion, and the iPhone 12 has 64 gigabytes of internal storage with no microSD card expansion. So clearly here, the LG K92 5G does have the advantage. Not only does it have double the storage of the iPhone, but it also has microSD card expansion, which the iPhone does not. This does make a pretty big difference in the grand scheme of things. These days, the system and apps are getting larger and larger, and if you have a lot of photos and videos, the microSD card expansion really does help as well. 64 gigabytes isn't really bad, but I would consider it more of a minimum than anything that's impressive, so 128 is definitely preferred. Now, both of these phones have Face Unlock, which is really nice, but the LG K92 5G also has a fingerprint scanner, which I think is even better. Not only that, but the fingerprint scanner is right here on the power button, and that, even compared to other phones with fingerprint scanners, is hard to beat. So it's hard to say that the iPhone really has an advantage here as far as security goes. Face Unlock is really nice, but having both is really hard to beat, especially with such a good location. With the LG K92 5G, there aren't going to be even that many times where you use Face Unlock anyway, because as soon as you touch the power button, it's going to be unlocked. That being said, just to show you how fast this is, I'm going to do a little demonstration. So we just locked the screen, and there we go. It's unlocked. One more time. So as you can see, that is so fast. I don't think the iPhone 12 can beat that. Face Unlock does take a second, and even then, once you do the Face Unlock on the iPhone 12, you do have to still swipe up. So as far as convenience of unlocking the phone, the LG K92 has a huge advantage here. Now, taking a look at these camera setups, the LG K92 5G has a 64 megapixel rear camera, a 5 megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. The iPhone 12 has a 12 megapixel rear camera and a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera, so both have pretty good camera setups. The only difference here is the LG K92 5G has a macro camera and the iPhone 12 doesn't. So if that's important to you, definitely keep that in mind. So this is a picture taken with the rear camera of the LG K92 5G. As you can see, it's a really nice picture. The details are really crisp and high quality. I have no complaints about it. This is a picture taken with the rear camera of the iPhone 12. I do think in comparison, when they're put side by side, the iPhone 12 does take better pictures. The details are a little better. The balance of the colors is a little better. And the lighting is handled better on the iPhone 12 than the LG K92 5G. That being said, I don't think there's anything wrong with the pictures taken by the LG K92 5G, and you can really use them in any situation you want to. I just think that if you're trying to get the highest quality, the iPhone 12 is going to be the winner here. Same thing goes for the ultra-wide pictures. I would say the same differences appear in these pictures as they do in the normal rear cameras. The LG K92 doesn't really have any downsides to the pictures. The iPhone 12 just has more quality. The pictures have a little bit more life, a little bit more detail, and it's more impressive overall. Now, these pictures were taken by the front-facing camera. Here, you can definitely see a lot more difference. The iPhone 12 takes much better front-facing pictures than the LG K92 5G. That being said, both of them are really good quality. The thing that I really don't like about the front-facing camera of the LG K92 5G is the highlights are really bright on this, whereas they're not really bright on the iPhone 12. They're pretty acceptable in this situation. So I think overall, the iPhone 12 does have a better camera. And if you're using your phone for professional purposes, keep this in mind, but also realize that the LG K92 5G does take really good pictures for the most part. And if you're using it for professional purposes that aren't super intense, say something like professional social media or something like that, then I do think you're not going to go wrong with the LG K92 5G. But if you're using your pictures for websites or actual photography, which I don't know a whole lot about photography, but I do know there are people who actually do serious photography with iPhones. So in this case, the iPhone 12 would suit those needs a little bit better. The same principle applies for videos. The LG K92 5G shoots 4K videos at 30 frames per second in the rear camera, and it can shoot up to 1080p at 30 frames per second in the front camera. The iPhone 12 can shoot 4K at 60 frames per second in both rear and front cameras. So the quality of the video is going to be a little bit higher on the iPhone 12 as well. Again, it really comes down to what you're actually trying to do with your phone. If you're using your phone for basic activities, and honestly, if you're doing anything with your camera that's short of professional photography, you should be fine with the LG K92 5G. But at the same time, if you really want those super high-end pictures, the iPhone 12 is going to be better. Now internally, the LG K92 5G is getting 6 GB of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 690 5G processor. We ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on this phone and it came back with a single core score of 607 and a multi-core score of 1830. The iPhone 12 is getting 4 GB of RAM with the Apple A14 Bionic processor. We ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on this phone as well and it came back with a single core score of 1591 and a multi-core score of 4089. So definitely the iPhone is going to be much more powerful. But with that in mind, the LG K92 5G is not a slow phone by any means. Even though it's only a mid-range phone, it is more powerful than a lot of old flagship phones like the Samsung Galaxy Note 8, for example, that was at one point when it was released one of the fastest phones on the market. So you're not going to go wrong with this phone. There's really not a whole lot the iPhone can do that the LG K92 5G can't do. The super demanding activities like video editing and gaming, and I'm talking about super intense gaming with high graphics. You probably know the ones. These games are going to run a lot better on the iPhone 12 than they would on the K92 5G. But other than that, these phones are both really powerful and they're going to be able to do a lot. The iPhone 12, again, will be able to do the more high-end activities better, but the LG K92 5G isn't bad either. The LG K92 5G has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery and the iPhone 12 has a 2,815 milliamp hour battery. So big difference here. The iPhone has a very small battery, one of the smallest I've seen actually, whereas even though the LG K92 5G doesn't have a giant battery, it does have a decently sized one. In the long run, as the batteries degrade, the LG K92 5G is not going to be as noticeable, whereas with the iPhone 12, you'll notice it pretty quickly. Not only that, but since it has more life per charge, the LG K92 5G might be more useful if you're on the go and can't plug your phone in all the time, but still have to use it frequently because it's going to last longer throughout the day. Now, in conclusion, which of these devices is better? For most of the specs, the iPhone 12 is going to be a little bit better than the LG K92 5G. It does have a much better display and a better camera and a more powerful processor, as well as some flagship features that the LG K92 5G doesn't have, such as wireless charging. But on the other hand, the LG K92 5G has double the storage, a clearly larger display, and a much larger battery. And there is a huge price difference between these as well. So I'd say if you don't really need the best processor out there or the most high quality camera out there, then the LG K92 5G might make more sense for you, especially since even if you are using the camera for professional purposes, unless you really need super high quality pictures, then you're most likely going to be fine with the camera of the LG K92 5G. If your business purposes is really only social media based and that sort of thing, keep in mind that those platforms do compress images anyway, so the difference between the LG K92 5G photos and the iPhone 12 photos might not be as apparent in those situations. So again, besides certain advantages, the iPhone 12 is going to be the better device. The price difference is so big that you're definitely going to want to consider if you really need what the iPhone 12 has that the LG K92 5G doesn't have. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, definitely leave a thumbs up and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.